Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this second session of the final CIVITAS Living Labs on Stage event. We will today discuss the results of what we have tried in the different cities that are parts of our projects. Just as an information for all the attendants, please know the platform you are working on, or if you are attending this webinar. You can hide the control panel with the red arrow that you find on the side panel, normally upper right. You can mute yourself, or you should mute yourself. You have the chance of posting your questions. We will come back to that later during this introduction. So yeah, try to get a little bit familiar before you can interact with us. So today we will talk about the solutions that we have tried in the cities that are parts of our project. We will discuss the impact of the measures regarding the user perception, the actual mobility behavior, and the implementation process. And we will talk also about the lessons learned and the policy recommendations for the future implementations. In total, we have tried more than 175 measures, and you can imagine how difficult it is to talk about each one of them. So we'll try to cluster them in what we have identified are the three pillars of for the transition to sustainable urban mobility. On one hand, we will talk about clean urban mobility. We will also talk about multimodality and modal integration. And finally, we will talk about why some fair cities and communities. Each one of these topics will have three pitch presentations, which are examples of what we have deployed in our projects. And these presentations will be followed by question and answer and a panel discussion where several people will get involved. Yeah, before we move further, these are the three wonderful women that are going to guide us through this session. Elisabeth Nagel from Munich, Heini Viljanen from Turku. Yeah, from Turku. No, sorry, from I think I will have to check that out, sorry. And Stella Altonen from Turku. They are very well seasoned on the topics that we are going to discuss today. And if everything goes well, will be thanks to them. If something goes wrong, you can always blame me. There will be several panelists which will be presenting the different experiences we have had across Europe, and it's also important to mention that the project evaluation managers from Portis, from Destinations, and from Eccentric will be also giving context to what or on what where these measures have been implemented, and also connecting these individual experiences to the general topics that we are going to tackle. Yeah, again, we are very much looking forward for all your questions. Please, if you have any, don't hesitate to post it on the box. I hope all of you have identified this already, because this is the way we expect you to communicate with us. Please direct your questions always to the moderator, so she will be able to redirect this question to the group of panelists and evaluators that are online today, and we will discuss about that. So yeah, this is the best way for you to make part of this, and we hope you enjoy this session today. Yeah, without any other further delay, I think we can start today, and I will give the floor first to my colleague Heini, and she will guide us through the topic of clean urban mobility. Thank you, and see you soon.
Thank you, Helber. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from Turku, Finland. My name is Heini Viljanen and I'm the moderator in this our first slot today, in which we focus on clean urban mobility. We have three presentations today about this topic, and the panelists in the first session are Juan Azcarrante from the Madrid City Council, and Juan will tell us about the clean mobility solutions they have in Madrid. After Juan's presentation, George Lupascu from Romania will show us examples of clean public transport in the city of Constanta. And third presenter in this first slot is Panos Koroyanakis, and he will tell us about the clean urban mobility and what that means in terms of hybrid and electric buses in the urban bus fleet, the case of Las Palmas. I won't go deeper at this point. I will give the floor to Juan, and let me just kindly remind you that I will turn on my camera when you have 1 minute left. So please, Juan, go ahead.
Thank you, Heini. And well, if I have the presentation, yeah, I would like to talk about the clean mobility solutions that we have tested during the Eccentric. And next slide, please. Many of these measures have been focused on passenger cars and buses, but I have to say that these kind of vehicles are becoming mainstream in our cities. So the results of Eccentric have even go beyond the expected in terms of numbers, in terms of figures in general of implementation. So I have preferred to talk about another sector. It's next slide, please. That is freight. Freight is still a gap. It's difficult to have the clean vehicle technologies applied in this sector. It's also a sector that, because the progressive digitalization, it's suffering a paradigm shift. And one of the main outputs, I will just to state in this first slide, is that we need a combined strategy to get to tackle this complex issue. That it's enabling policies, the in the second slide. I don't know if it's the same for all of you. Yeah, well, this thank you. So as I mentioned, in this combined strategy, the first was talking about the policies and innovative policies, and we have the chance of, in our new sustainable mobility municipal ordinance, and also in the planning of urban planning and air quality and climate change, to put freight in the center of one specific chapter for that. And we think this is one of the main outputs, to talk about policies and not only technology. Next slide, please. For the specific measure was a prototype of an electric vehicle, electric truck. The first I would like to point out is the study. The first step was the study of needs, the background. We have identifying with a logistic operator, which will be the best vehicle to be adapted to the needs and to the work that has to be done in Madrid. And we have the Polytechnical University of Madrid also with this task. Next slide, please. After this study of needs, we have the design of the prototype, and we made it with the engineer partner Avia and also the logistic partner EFM Logistics. This is the image of the one it's constructed, this and built up. We have some problems in terms of the battery type approval. It was really an issue, and it causes a little delays on the issue. Next slide, please. And after, of course, the demonstration and monitoring, as far as we are going and keep on going more data, this is the original, I mean, the test performed, they demonstrate that the design is right. Also, its fit is adapted to the world we have envisaged, but also for the data about the autonomy and charge periods and so on. And there is another step that it goes further, the project, that is the upscaling of that and trying to work with Avia and other logistic operators to have a good marketability of that. Next step, please. And yes, I will also to mention that it was like the policies, the vehicles, but also the strategic land use, because this is also because the performance of electric trucks, they are not so competitive in terms with the classical fuel propelled trucks, and we have to make it easier. I mean, to get them closer to the final distribution points in this final last mile or last link of the supply chain. So this is another measure that was combined. It is a consolidation center in which FM Logistics were using electric vehicles, electric vans, and also is using this electric prototype. Next slide, please. Now at this moment, even well, with some delays also because of this COVID situation, but at this moment we are testing in a real supply chain, because this is one of the premises of the eccentric, is to prove things in the real life situation. We are working with these specific supply chains in some stores of the city of Madrid, and well, just the final conclusion was also that we need also for the policies, for the clean vehicles uptake and for the strategic land use, we need to create a permanent and inclusive partnerships with logistic operators. This is one of the main also lessons learned, and that probably it will be one of also the main findings, how to work with them in to create these combined strategies to create a clean and less, I mean, a reduction of emission and a clean vehicle technology on freight. And that's all for my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. That's very pervasive. We will move directly to George Lupascu. Go ahead, George.
Hello, everybody. My name is George Lupascu, and I am a representative of Constanța metropolitan area. Today, I want to present to you some of the actions that we undertook in the city in order to improve the public transport around the city and the metropolitan area of Constanța. Next slide, please. Constanța, it's an European Union border city, the Black Sea. It's a medium-sized city with around 320,000 inhabitants at the city level and around 500,000 in the functional urban area, which is an association of 18 localities surrounding Constanța, with Constanța as the center for the development of this area. We are a port city. We have the biggest port on the Black Sea and the fourth largest in Europe. We are also a touristical city. We are one of the oldest cities in Romania. And we also have around here a very important summer resort, which is Mamaia Resort. Around 1 million, we have around 1 million visitors each year. And of course, we are also a university center. We have 6 universities and around 25,000 students. Regarding the city SAMP, this was developed at the metropolitan area level in 2015-2016. It was a bigger program conducted by the national government together with the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, and with the help of Jaspers. They had this program for elaborating the sums for the 8 growth poles of Romania, Constanța being one of them. We have a dedicated source of funding for the mobility projects that were identified in the SAM through the regional development operational program. And of course, Portis was one of the main opportunities for implementing SAM's action. Today, I will speak about the challenges identified in the SAM and the actions that were undertaken by the city and the metropolitan area for improving the public transport service. Of course, the SAM vision is to achieve a sustainable, safe, integrated and accessible to all transport system, connecting people and places, supporting economy, environment and quality of life in the Constanța Growth Pole SAM. This is a very general idea of what we want to achieve. But you will see further that we had identified some challenges regarding the public transport, and of course we tried to overcome these challenges with the concrete actions. Next slide, please. One of the main challenges identified by the SAMP was related to the institutional framework for public transport. So we had no public service obligation according to the regulation, to the European regulation, and we worked very much in order to have this contract concluded and to have it signed with a public transport operator, to say like this, which was established according to the economical laws. So in 2000, actually last year, we had the contract concluded with the City Bus Company. This is a company owned by the local council. We also have, we didn't have the metropolitan area, no metropolitan association, to say like this, in order to organize the public transport at the metropolitan level. It was only regulated for the city. Through Portis, we have a measure that it's called, we establish a mobility forum where we gather all the stakeholders in the mobility field, and we managed to put the basis for this public transport metropolitan authority. This autumn, 5 localities joined this association, and right now we are continuing our steps in order to organize it. Next slide, please. Regarding the bus fleet, the SAMP identified that this is an obsolete one, and we tried to identify all kinds of sources for funding in order to improve this bus fleet. You can see here 2 tables. The one above is representing the old fleet, and the one below is showing the actual fleet. And of course, we have new projects in order to renew this bus fleet. Next one, please. Also, we had some problems related to the infrastructure of public transport. We had no dedicated bus lanes. The bus stations were not proper for use. So we have this big program at the city level where we want to reallocate the street space in order to make it more proper for promoting the public transport, and of course to bring a lot more people to choose the public transport. Next one, please.
Georgia, can I remind you that we have passed now the 6 minutes? Are you ready to finish your presentation, please?
just two slides. What we have done also is that we put the ticketing system, we updated it, and we also had this mobile application that it's ready for it's in use right now. And all of these actions were, next slide please. All these actions were accompanied by awareness raising campaign that we conducted through Portis. And the next one please. And you can see here the results that we achieved in the past years regarding the people that are using public transport. Thank you very much. This was my presentation, and sorry for taking more time.
Thank you very much. No panic. We are a bit ahead of the schedule, but let's try to be strict. And the third one in this first slot is Mr. Panos Koroyanakis. So please, Panos, go ahead.
Thank you, Heini. Today I will talk to you about the initiatives of electromobility in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria and in Rethymno, 2 of the 6 destinations partner islands that have introduced hybrid and electric buses. Next slide, please. I think that what is important to remember is that these are for Las Palmas de Gran Canaria. The public transport operator is called Guaguas Municipales and has a fleet of 256 conventional buses. In order to include eco-friendly vehicles in the renew strategies, as well as to test the new bus technologies for the bus rapid transit system in the city that is currently under construction, Guaguas Municipales purchased 3 12-meter hybrid buses and 1 18-meter full electric bus. In a first stage, both technologies were tested in all possible public transport lines in flat and hilly slopes in the city to analyze performance and to check if this kind of bus fits with the characteristics of Las Palmas public transport network. Nowadays, these buses are running in 3 different lines that connect the main touristic points with the city center. Next. I think that the good results in terms of fuel savings, reduction of CO2 emissions, and the absence of noise while these buses are running make them highly rated by customers, by tourists, by citizens, as well as bus drivers. However, one of the main challenges and lessons learned that have been faced during the testing and operation stages of the hybrid and the electric buses in the city has to do with the distance from the mainland. The archipelago of the Canary Islands is an outermost region. Hybrid and electric bus technologies have not yet been sufficiently deployed in terms of after-sales and maintenance services. As in every new bus, when they start their operation stage, some failures or incidents occur that need to be addressed. In the case of hybrid and electric buses, the maintenance staff at local workshops are not yet used to the new technologies and are not very competent in solving problems. In fact, in some occasions in Las Palmas, specialists or engineers had to travel from the mainland to solve problems. And this, of course, increases the average out-of-service time. The same thing happens when a spare part is needed. Las Palmas de Gran Canaria is fostering the uptake of clean public transport technologies. In fact, it is planning to purchase an additional 26 hybrid or electric buses that will be running in the first high-capacity urban public transport system in the city that is called the Bus Rapid Transit System, as well as 12 new hybrid buses to renew the fleet. However, it is completely necessary that electric and hybrid bus suppliers support the deployment in outermost and other isolated and insular regions to help us move to new clean public transport technologies. Now let's come to the city of Rethymno in Crete, Rethymno introduced the first electric vehicles in public fleets thanks to destinations by adding a mini e-bus and a municipal e-car. This was a breakthrough, not only locally and regionally, but also nationally for Greece. The e-bus has a capacity of 23 people, is accessible to all, which operates a new circular route, connects the city center to the main city beach, the buses terminal, and the municipal parking facilities serving both tourists and citizens. It serves people with disabilities, parents with baby carriages, and regular passengers. The new service is provided in collaboration with the public transport operator as a convenient solution for zero-emission trips in the city center, currently offering free services free of charge. By now, the e-bus has covered more than 14,000 kilometers and it has saved 18,000 kilowatt hours and 6.1 tons of CO2. The reaction of visitors and residents was very enthusiastic, resulting in more than 4,000 users in the 8-month period. The COVID-19 outbreak disrupted the e-bus operation for almost 4 months, but now the e-bus is back in service. Being the first e-bus nationally integrated into public transport, it has inspired other municipalities that have contacted Rethymno to learn about the procurement processes and the experience. It's also based on the experience gained. The public transport operator is now assessing the potential purchase of a second bus. The neighboring municipality of Heraklion announced recently that a 750,000 euros fund will be made available for the procurement of 2 new buses. A first e-car was also added to the municipal fleet, which is currently employed by the Municipal Technical Services Department. The municipality has also installed the first network of public charging points in the region. Those zero emissions vehicles circulate in the city since the summer of 2019 and enhance Rethymno's eco-friendly profile. Based on teamwork, Rethymno has received a number of awards at national and EU level, including 2 medals in Best City Awards 2018, 1 gold for Best Sustainable Transportation, and the Bronze Award for Integrated Initiatives for Sustainable Mobility, a double award in the Greek Travel Awards 2019, and most recently, the 2nd place in large municipalities in European Mobility Week Awards of 2019. So this has been a very successful program that we hope will be repeated and replicated. Next slide, please. Thank you very much for your attention, and please keep in mind that in our project, not only these 2 islands have introduced electromobility measures, but also the other islands such as Malta, Elba, Limassol in Cyprus, and Funchal in Madeira have also done the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Panos. So I'm seeing that we don't have any questions yet for our panelists, but may I be the first courageous one to be asking? I have one question for Juan. What do you find to be the biggest challenge in your process? Was it maybe the policies or the question of land use? Could you go through the issues you had, the biggest challenges?
Well, biggest challenges for this specific measure has been the creation of a prototype in terms of the battery use, the type approval, all the normatives around the battery type approval has delayed. And also in Spain, well, to drive a prototype implies different like specific permits and so on. So it has been more about the regulation and regulations associated with these new technologies. And well, of course, we have had a very good partners and in terms of FM logistics and the engineering firm, Avia, But of course, we have realized that it's always needed to go hand to hand with logistic operators to deploy one of these kind of measures. But specifically, and it has caused some delays, it's about the regulations for type approvals and to have the permits for free driving on road of the prototype.
Thank you. There's a first question from the audience actually to Juan.
Yeah.
The asker is interested in the Madrid case, in particular the relationship with private operators in the context of agreement. What lessons can be drawn from this?
Well, in terms of agreements in general, when we are talking, it is a general question. When we are talking about equality or for example, low emission zones, as in Madrid, we have had Madrid Central. It has been an issue to talk with freight, because usually freight is less, there is less knowledge in Madrid, in city councils and in local administration about the freight operators and how it's all this sector, how it's organized. And I would say that sometimes you find punctual agreements in terms, for example, of time schedules for access, or for some kind of a use of the base for loads and unload areas, or for the kind of vehicles, or that has to be admitted or not. But we have to go beyond. I think we have to have a permanent relationship between local administration and logistic operators as a permanent basis, because till now it has been like if there is a problem, we create a forum or we create a committee to discuss this particular issue on the regulation, on the use of land in terms of restriction or land for consolidation areas. And we think this is not the best way, because it's usually is biased or is very, very focused on a specific issue. And I think we hope to create some kind of a structure. We are learning from other partner cities as Stockholm, and they have like a service, like a permanent link inside the city administration, a freight plan and things like that. So it's for me, the main lesson learned is not to create something only when there is a problem. Usually now it is a kind of action and reaction, but we have to create something more permanent. We have a lot of people in the city working and thinking on public transport, and for people, passenger cars, buses, public transport, but very few people as daily working with freight, and freight is big sector on mobility.
Great, thank you. The next question is for Panos regarding the islands participating in the destination. Because in many islands, the electricity is mainly generated from fossil fuels. So is this also the case in the islands, because electricity is obviously as clean as the method that it has been produced? So could you go through that, Panos?
Yes, sure. Thank you. First of all, let me say that for the two islands I mentioned, both the Las Palmas in Gran Canaria and in Rethymno in Crete, a very significant part of the electricity generation on both islands comes from renewables. Both islands have significant wind power parks, and so therefore I think that it is not a big issue. This is not the same for all the destinations islands, that's very true. I would say, for example, that in Malta, there is very limited renewable electricity generation. However, I think that all islands are moving in the same direction of introducing more and more renewables in their electricity mix. And at the same time, I think what is important is that the local population gets used to the benefits and the idea of electromobility. So in that sense, as you saw in Rethymno, there's at the moment one bus, and one e-car. However, in Greece, the concept of electromobility is new. The government just introduced recently a major initiative promoting discounted purchase of electric cars, is installing an extensive network of charging stations all across the country. And therefore, we can say that Rethymno was really the prototype that inspired the diffusion of the concept for the rest of the country.
Heini, I think I can confirm what Panos was saying, and we saw something similar in Eccentric, and is that the role of these projects is not only to really test or get some figures out of it, but to demonstrate and communicate to the general public and to the decision makers that there is something else you can do about it. Even if it's not perfect, even if they don't achieve the savings that were intended, or whatever is the outcome, the communication aspect of these projects is very important, and it's one of the achievements. I also would like to comment on the actual effects of these systems, and to having this as a good example of a closed system, which is an island. It depends on where you always put your frame of reference, of course, and we see very frequently that electric vehicles or clean technologies are sold as zero emission technologies when they are not. And having this example in an island is a very good example of that. They are not zero emissions, but nevertheless, there are some other benefits that should be exploited and communicated to the society. PM particular matter which is released to the atmosphere, or ozone emissions, NOx, and so on.
Yes, I agree. And in fact, I believe one of the previous speakers, Juan, I think, mentioned the issue of regulation. In Greece, for example, there was no previous regulatory framework for introducing electric buses in the public transport system. So this was also a first, and that also acted as a catalyst. Now the Ministry of Transport has all regulations in place, and it took quite some time for Rethymno to introduce the e-bus in their fleet. But once all the regulatory procedures were developed and implemented, now the next generation of e-buses will be implemented and put in service much, much easier and much faster. So it's planting the seeds, if I may say so. These demonstration projects, these measures are really planting the seeds, particularly for areas in the European Union, such as islands, to be able to really introduce the technical, the regulatory, and the institutional framework that is required to promote electromobility hand in hand with the Green Deal objectives. Let's not forget that also push for more renewables and more clean electricity.
Thank you. One thing that actually caught my attention in George's presentation was the campaigns that, Georgia, you mentioned that you had a lot of campaigns raising awareness of what you're doing. So I was wondering, what kind of other campaigns have you had in your projects, and have they been successful? And if someone would want to arrange a campaign concerning their topic, what should they take into consideration? And also the project evaluation managers, you're also welcome to comment.
Yes, this is a very nice question, because we had some discussion regarding the how important are these campaigns, and what is their role, and how can they achieve a specific objective, to say like this. It's enough to have only these campaigns, but I say that when you are a city like Constanța, where the mobility patterns are to say like this, focused only on the car use, it's very important to present and to showcase some example for promoting public transport, walking, cycling. And I can say that these campaigns were very important for us at the city level in order to, you saw the results that I have presented in my presentation. So the public transport users number raised from year to year in the last, to say like this, couple of years. So we have an increase in the usage of public transport. And yes, we had also the support of our local administration, including politicians. One example that I can present here, it's the Choose the Bus campaign, where the mayor, together with all the local politicians, we choose the week where we promoted the use of public transport at the city level, especially for the local public institution, especially those that are working closely with the municipality. So all the parking places around the municipality were closed, and you were not allowed to came to work by car. Even the mayor used that week the local public transport service. So it was a very nice campaign. Yes, they are very useful, to say like this.
Can I just come in here and add something in terms of promotional campaigns and behavioral change? All 6 destinations islands are touristic islands, are well-known touristic destinations. So the campaigns were not only targeting the local citizens, but they were also targeting the traditional mode of transport of the tourist that arrives on an island, and the first thing he does is he rents a car. So the promotion of clean public transport and the behavioral change to make even the tourist change attitude towards their transport needs on these islands has been a very important element in the work we've done. And the promotional campaigns have been very successful in all 6 islands in moving the tourist from the rental car to the public transport. And if that public transport happens to be clean, quiet, and also very modern, then one more reason for the tourist to take the bus.
Strong.
If I can just chime in here as well, I would say from the Portis perspective, I think what George and what Hannes said, I think is really important, because we sometimes tend to forget that it doesn't matter how much investment we make in clean transport and in infrastructure to support walking, putting in clean buses, all of the different work that's done, if it's not adopted by the users, whether that's users, public sector, general population, or companies. So I think those integrated sets of measures where you really are trying to build upon, you develop the regulation to try to make sure that you can actually hold these projects to take place, make the projects take place, and then encourage people to use. I think that's really critical, and I think is something that we see supported across the different CIVITAS.
And one last thing, if I may, this seed money from the Horizon 2020 program has unlocked also additional significant investment money made available to not only introduce electromobility, but also to introduce the quality of the service of the public transport. In Funchal, for example, that Madeira, as you know, is a volcanic island. There were a number of different buses that were electric buses that were tested, and the city and the public transport operator, they were able to unlock significant additional investment from ERDF funding to buy an additional 5 buses, electric buses, that are already in service in the city of Funchal. So the ability of Horizon 2020 measure to unlock additional investment is also a very important element in the work we did in the last 4 years.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think we will be moving to our next slot, which is multimodality and modal integration. So please, Stella, my colleague from Turku, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see that there's 100 attendees with us in this webinar. And now we are moving into multimodality and modal integration, which are actually one of the core elements of EU's sustainable mobility strategy, which will focus also on seamless multimodal experience. So I will look forward to our 3 brilliant presentations that are focusing on different dimensions that are taking in real-time actions. And we'll start from Munich with my colleague Stefan Sinek, who will be introducing mobility stations and multimodality there. From there, we will move then after that to Antwerp with the smart ways to Antwerp. And after that, we'll have an insight on the case of Malta, and then combining ferries with public transportation. But we'll start with the Munich. The floor is yours, Stefan. Yep. Can we have Stefan coming to join me here?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I would love to see you too. But yes, brilliant. Thank you.
Hello.
You're welcome to start. Go ahead.
Okay. So, hello from Munich. I'm very happy to present you a little bit more about multimodality and especially about mobility stations in Munich, one of our measures in eccentric Munich. So, yeah, in Munich, we are facing strong challenges in terms of mobility, like many other big European towns as well. We really have strong economic growth and therefore rising inhabitants and also more and more cars every year in Munich, and therefore lots of problems with regard to traffic. So overburden public transport system, lots of congestion, pollution problems, with also problems with traffic safety, and you know about the problems with the parcel delivery. So we know that we have to find new solutions and new ways for more sustainable mobility. And therefore, we see the problems especially in the northern areas of Munich. The northern parts are growing twice as fast as the overall city. So there's new ground for constructions, new buildings, and there are also lots of new industries and companies there. And therefore, you have increasing numbers of mobility and road users there. And the problem is there's a lack of the infrastructure, so public transport, and a high rate of car commuters. And at the peripheral districts, it's also no typical business case for for sharing mobility providers. So therefore, we choose the northern part in Munich for our living lab area of eccentric. And this is divided into 2 parts. The northern part, the Domag Park, it's 100% residential area, you can say. It's very green. It's a former conversation of barrack sites. And the southern part, the Parkstadt Schwabing, is more characterized with companies, and it's more a business district area. And overall, we have 8,000 inhabitants in our living lab. So left side, you see the pictures from the Domag Park, and on the right side from the Parkstadt Schwabing. We tested in eccentric Munich overall 12 different measures with the help of 7 partners. And the goal was, to reach multimodality and to provide as many different mobility services as possible for as many people as possible. And we wanted to allow the residents to get into a private car-free lifestyle, to have lower mobility costs, and especially, of course, to save the environment, protect the environment, to have less traffic congestion, less air pollution, and an overall improved quality of life for the residents in our living lab. So here you see pictures from our 4 mobility stations. The left side above, there's the inauguration in July 2018, and on the right side above, you can see still that in the background there are construction works still ongoing. So with these planning and construction works, this can be an advantage, but also a disadvantage when you are planning mobility stations in a new living area. A completely newly built area can have the advantage, what we have seen, that there's no complaints for residents because there are no residents. When you want to construct, for example, new sharing parking lots, you're completely free. But on the other side, you see it in the south of our living lab, we had to reallocate 1 mobility station this year. We almost already started to construct it, but had to replan it because of new planning and construction works in our living lab. So overall, 4 different mobility stations in our living lab, and additionally 1 on private ground. We did it already in the year 2016 in cooperation with a housing society. So coming to the components of a mobility station, you can say all our 4 mobility stations, they have a standardized offer with regard to first the free-floating car sharing. So we cooperate with all free-floating car shares in Munich. As of course, this has changed a little bit. The market has changed. A new provider came to town, other one disappeared. There's always at least 1 charging station per mobility station. There's also always 1 bike station from our municipal local bike sharing provider, but there are also free-floating bike sharing offers. We have e-scooter sharing there, the red ones. This year there came a second one in town, and we have stationary car sharing. There has been 1 provider, now we got a second one in town. We also did with 2 measures in eccentric the developing of new sharing vehicles with the goal to integrate them in the mobility stations, but until now this has not taken place. So what's the innovative aspects of mobility stations? Of course, this concept is not completely new, but it's the first time that we went outside downtown and we went to the peripheral districts, and we combined the multimodal offers at 1 physical hub. And also we created new road traffic signs and design for markings. So we did it in workshops. And we also took into account the new regulations, the new law regulations for car sharing in Germany that enabled us to provide especially reserved parking spaces for car sharing vehicles. And we did a lot of marketing there for the mobility stations and the providers. So we provided the residents with trial offers. We did a lot of direct and download marketing. We created new social marketing channels with the YouTube channel of Eccentric Munich, Instagram, and also Facebook. Coming to the development, we did it in a interdisciplinary working groups with our stakeholders. This was more a holistic spatial analysis for them for mobility stations, and they had to be in a residential area, so in walking distance for as many people as possible, and direct connection to public transport. And coming to the costs, we have fixed costs per station. So this is 16,000 euros about, we calculated per station. Then there are variable costs like for planning, communication, and operating costs. So this is depending what you want to do. So you can say it's more or less more about 20,000 euros per station you can calculate. The drivers we registered is that for mobility station there is the parking management is very important to get less illegal parking on the reserved car sharing spots. The marketing activities very important, and the continuous communication with the sharing providers. Barriers were the dependence on construction progresses in the area, the limited surveillance possibility for car sharing providing, and a lack of a citywide mobility station concept, but we are still working on it. So there was a resolution there last year for sharing mobility in Munich, and we have an upscaling next year of mobility stations and the shared mobility, but we are still working on the concept. Great. Thank you very much for your attention.
Great, Stefan. Any questions that you might have for Stefan, please type them in, and we will get back to those after the next two presentations. We move now to City of Antwerp and Silke Lamoen, Smart Ways to Antwerp. Floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Silke from Antwerp in Belgium, and I'm going to talk to you about a route planner that we developed for the City of Antwerp. But first, I'll start with why we even thought about making a route planner. Well, actually, everything started in 2010. We had huge mobility problems in and around the city, and we made a master plan looking at 2020 and a route plan looking at 2030 to improve the situation in and around the city. So we plan to build more tram tracks. We were heightening the bridges over our canal, hugely expanding our bike tracks, and also, as you can see on the right of the screen, we were going to make our ring highway round, which isn't round right now. So we're going to add the orange and the green part, so all the traffic can flow good around the city. But of course, if we were going to do all those huge infrastructure projects, a lot of traffic jams that were already there were only going to get worse. So we had to look at how to improve mobility during all the works that we were going to do, so everything was livable and sustainable, especially for people living in Antwerp. And that's why we also put in our plans, you can still stay on the previous slide, to go to a modal split of 50-50, which is actually really simple. Our goal is to lower all car transportation to only 50% of all transportation, and the other 50% or more, hopefully, really has to be done by all possible alternatives like walking, biking, public transportation, water transportation, or even like we've all been doing for the last couple of months, not moving at all and staying at home to work, for example. So that's a huge thing to do, and how we were going to do it was, of course, in a couple of different ways. So we implemented some hard measures. We started a bike sharing system. We introduced a water taxi in Antwerp over the river. We are expanding our park and rides with huge buildings with a lot more capacity. You can go to the next slide in the meantime. So those are really hard measures, but we've combined those with soft measures like attracting a lot of mobility providers to our city. We have a really well working employers approach, and we launched a website called Smart Ways to Antwerp, which has a route planner, which I'm going to talk to you about. And all of these things, we've kind of put them in a nudging model, which you can see in the lower left corner. The model that we've used is based on 7 E's. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but the route planner is focusing mainly on one of the 7 E's, which is to enable or to help people move from their car to other options, and really giving them all the information they need to look into those alternatives. And then you can ask yourself, okay, so the city is building a route planner, but people already have tons of route planners and GPS systems. So why would you build another one? Well, it's true, but the thing we did is actually really unique in its kind, because I think all of you know Google Maps. And if you calculate a route, it will tell you, or you can walk, or you can bike, or you can take the car, but it never really looks at combining all of those options, which is sometimes really the smartest, not the fastest always, but the smartest route to go somewhere. So what our route planner does, it combines walking, biking, shared bike system, all the public transportation like bus, tram, train, and our water bus and car, and calculates on a pretty expanded model how you can combine all of these things. And the example you can see below is maybe instead of driving the whole trip, you can take your bike, leave it at the train station, take the train to our city. When you walk out of the train station, you can grab a shared bike system, and you only have to walk 2 minutes more to get to your destination while not losing that much time in comparison to the car. So that's really an eye-opener for us to show it this way to people that use our route planner. But also, since mobility keeps moving and growing in Antwerp, we're actually permanently adding new options to the route planner. And as we speak, we're working on steps, scooters, and taxis to integrate them into the route planner. Another thing we did is we made the route planner more personal for people this year, as you can see on the next slide. So we built in a filter option. So at first, people weren't able to really filter through all of the options. We just suggested the eye openers. Now they can really go deeper into all the options and make it way more to their needs. And also they can make a profile on our website where they pre-fill what they have, or if they have a car or a bus, or they don't want to take the train, for example, and fill in their work and home address. So it just gets more detailed for them. And then if that's not enough, because that was already a huge amount of work, we're not done yet. And the rest of this year and beginning of next year, we're focusing on a few more add-ons. For example, we're adding even more real-time data, because with the free-floating systems, bike systems, step systems, the things move all the time. So you really have to be able to help people find them, and real-time data helps with that. And you can switch to the next slide as well. We're gonna keep adding all the shared mobility that launches in Antwerp. We are expanding our walking and bike routes for people to choose not only one route, which is the fastest or the best according to us, but maybe they want to ride their bike through a park, or maybe they want to take the safest routes, or they want to walk away from the bigger streets. So we're going to build in that. And last but not least, we didn't have navigation on our app yet, which is actually really important if you really want to help people along the way as well. And that's what we're also building in right now. And that's it, I guess, for the 5 minutes.
Great, thank you so much. Looks really good. I mean, we will have one more presentation and then we move on to the panel. And I would like to invite Maria Attard for the University of Malta to talk about the integration of ferries and public transportation. The floor is yours, Maria.
Thank you. In our case, part of the Destinations project, we had one of the measures that looks at really integrating and really using some of the geography of the islands with respect to integrating the potential of ferries with the existing public transport, which is bus-based. So here you see the presentation of all the measures. We're focusing, of course, on this issue of ferries because being an island and having of course, I'm a bit biased, but having a beautiful Grand Harbor, we tend to underestimate sometimes the importance of ferries connecting people in areas which are high density. Malta has a very high density of population. It attracts over 2 million tourists a year. It's a very small island. It's just over 300 square kilometers and has a huge problem with car dependence. So trying to shift the mobility to alternative modes is a key priority. Next. Next slide, yeah. So the measure in itself, as I said, is the integration of ferries with the public transport. It is aimed primarily to address the lack of connectivity between the ferries or the ferry landing sites at different points around the harbor and the city center. Now, the beauty of Valletta, of course, it's a beautiful walled city built by the knights. But as a walled city, of course, has accessibility problems from the sea. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a fortified city, which also means that there are very steep streets leading to the center. As you see in one of the photographs here, there are just very, very steep steps. And the idea is that the ferry, which links the other cities to the mainland, can actually be serviced also by a bus that goes around the city, connecting these sites. And then Transport Malta led the measure, and the university evaluated it. So the outputs, next slide. The outputs of the project included the introduction of a bus route, the 133, the commissioning of a cost-benefit analysis for the assessment of alternative connections between the landing sites, and an options analysis, which including the upgrading also of historical steps or stairways that connected to the center. And then for the evaluation purposes, we conducted surveys in 2018 and 2019, both a telephone survey with residents in the Valletta region to understand their knowledge and use of the ferry system and the connections with the public transport options, and in-person surveys with users of the ferry service and the buses, which included also tourists, of course, in our case, was to understand the awareness and acceptance of the provided service. Next, please. So from the evaluation, we noticed that the average occupancy from using the sort of transport indicator, we see the average occupancy rise, and that was a very positive indicator for us. You can see from the graphs at the bottom, of course, you see the seasonality effects of island states. We have higher rates of occupancy in summer. Of course, it also reflects the ferry operation, even though the Grand Harbor is extremely sheltered, and we're lucky enough with that because that means that the ferry can operate throughout the whole year with very minimal disruptions, making it quite a reliable, in fact, connection to the city, and also the bus service. We've also increased the awareness level and the satisfaction level of the customers, with many people nowadays in the island hailing the service as being a fantastic, innovative solution for Valletta. Next, please. So with the lessons learned, I think this has been within the destinations measures. This has been a best practice of intermodal connectivity and collaboration between operators. We've had the public transport operator coming on board. We've had the ferry operator coming on board during the course of the project, and primarily also through the intervention of the project, we started seeing also collaboration extending between the two operators. There is integrated ticketing now. So we've had a very positive outcome from the implementation of these measures. And while some users of the ferry have no problem continuing their journey on foot, of course, for others, having different transport connections available increases the accessibility through alternative forms. We have a very high also elderly population. We have also high elderly population, particularly British tourists that come in winter, and the issues of accessibility is critical. And of course, in a highly congested island, sea and water-based transport can be much faster than land-based alternatives. And so it makes it more enjoyable for tourists and residents alike, and it certainly provides for a kind of different mobility solution for tourists, of course, which you see here. You're riding on the ferry and you see the beautiful Valletta in front of you, but it's also good for residents that connect. Next slide. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Maria. I would like now to ask the evaluation managers to join us and also the presenters. Please put your cameras on. I have received several questions, and it's an interesting discussion about combining multimodality and travel trips together. And I would like to get really concise answers so that we have everyone being involved in the discussion. I will maybe give some time to Stefan to melt in, and I will ask and come back to you in a short about interdependency of actually private partners and what happens if they actually fail on the system. So how interdependent and how much are you able to plan that? So think about that. And at the same time, I would ask Silke to think about, is 50-50 model share really ambitious enough, and how hard it is actually to reach that one. So Stefan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. This is also a challenge for Munich, because it's always, the work starts from you when a provider you worked with for the last year or 2 years disappears from the market and a new one comes, or nobody comes again. So what can you do? Well, for private providers, what we tried in Eccentric is to provide them the best frame as possible. So what we did is we invited them in workshops. We wanted to know what they need, what are the goals of them, how we can help them, and what's the strategy of their business overall for our town. And then we tried to keep on continuous communication with them, so over the 4 years. But actually, we can nothing do if the market isn't worth to stay in Munich. So especially with the COVID, we saw that the sharing business decreased for several months. And for example, the bike sharing provider Banky Republic from Denmark, he disappeared from Munich and disappeared also from other towns in Europe. So there is nothing to do against if it's not a business case overall. But what we can say is to be in contact with the stakeholders, to make a promotion, to make the marketing for them actually. So that's what we did for them. We opened our communication channels.
Okay, great. And while the model share answer is getting answered, I would like the evaluation managers to think about the other things that are fragile in this combining the intermodality and things together. So I would like to get really short answers from each of them. Evaluation managers regarding what are the risks of multimodality and integration of these issues. But Silke, is 50-50 share ambitious enough?
Well, it is ambitious, and we're actually really happy to see that for the residents in Antwerp, we actually already got our 50-50 split. So those were really nice numbers we got last year and were confirmed this year as well. But the thing we see is that in the wider region, and people, well, even the commuters that come work in Antwerp, our modal split is actually, we got it. But people traveling around Antwerp, Antwerp is kind of in the center of Belgium. We have a lot of through traffic that uses our highway, and those are the bigger trucks and more commuters that have nothing to do with Antwerp, where we have a lot of work left to do. It's also a different approach. So we're acing at some points, and now we have to kind of look at all the other factors and increase our efforts there as well.
Great. I mean, for Maria to think about next is that what have been the positive outcomes actually as a result of all the efforts that you've been doing. But I go back to the evaluation managers. What have been the key issues that you have found about in multimodality? And I mean, 5 words or less, please. I give you a challenge because you all talked so much, and I know that. So I would like to have Ricardo first. What have been the lessons learned? Can I have your voice on?
Yeah, many thanks, Stella. I think it's very difficult because Munich, Antwerp, and Malta are obviously very different sites with a different specific topic. But if I have to find out a common lesson from intermodality in 3 case studies, I would say the importance of a cooperative framework, because a multimodality implication of multimodality is to have a multi-stakeholders, because you have several transport modes, and therefore I suspect that having a good framework of collaboration is maybe really a winning card for winning the game for better multimodality.
Very great. That one is taken. So is there something to add to that, Caitlin?
Yeah, I think Ricardo gave step 1. I think step 2 is something that I know that Silke and Antwerp dealt with, which was data integration. So just trying to be able to obtain data from all different providers and bring that together in a way that it's interoperable, that it presents similar information that's consistent across the board.
Great. So data integration and using that for the analysis and for the further development. Great. What about Helber?
Why I'm last here? No, I wouldn't have much to add. I can back up what Ricardo said, and is this cooperation and this governance framework is very important, but it's very different in every case. For Maria, in the case sorry, what does it take for the name?
Malta.
Malta, yeah, sorry. The status quo is that they have separate systems for public transport. You have the ferries and you have the public transport inland. Well, as if we see the case of, let's say, Hamburg, they are already integrated. And the next step, when you look into the future, is to try to integrate public transport with cycling, with walking, to have a consistent system. So it's very dependent on the local conditions, and I cannot agree more. When we step it up to mobility as a service, it will be a whole different game, and even more complex. You know that better than we do, Stella. Governance and these arrangements between private, public, and among privates are really, really complicated to handle.
You're doing a good marketing for the last Living Lab session next week. Thank you for that. But Maria, what has been the positive result of the experiment?
Well, I guess for us, the most positive result has been the return on investment. So we have traditionally the ferries have always existed in the Grand Harbor because of, well, the sort of the common sense approach to mobility. But over the years and with growing car dependence, their popularity and their use fell. And if you had to look at the early 2000s, find that there was no use at all.
Okay, great. That was a good introduction to a couple of two other ones that I would really like to still have an answer to. Is that Silke, there's a question to you about how did the users take up the new route planner, and what about pricing there?
Well, one thing we've already kept in mind.
Can I have Maria your mic to turn off? Goes around.
Yeah, is it better now? Yeah. So one thing we've really always kept in mind is we didn't want to become a mass provider, mobility as a service, where you show all the options and then people can pay for whatever they choose and then they ride on. Because it's not our place as a government to interfere in that market and to really offer the pricing and everything like that. So actually our product stops at referring them to the apps or to purchasing options of the public transport or the shared mobility system, etc. But I think we just have to keep in mind we're the eye opener. And besides that, by showing all the mass providers and the mobility providers with their separate apps in Antwerp, showing them with our system, you can integrate and you can connect all the dots and all the transport mobilities. We are actually doing a lot of groundwork for them and homework. And we're also making them talk to each other. And by doing that together as partners, we're actually building all the steps all together to do that on their own in the end with all the pricing and everything.
Good, thank you. And the aim of all the multimodality and combining together eventually is actually getting rid of your own car. That's what we all want to have. And there's one question to Stefan directed. Did anyone of the users give up their car or decide not to use it because of your stations?
Well, of course, there was one or two, or maybe a little bit more, but overall, evaluation showed that there was no significant abolishment of car ownership. But you have to say, for the frame, this is a newly built area, and people go there, and they have more space. They have a parking space. So after 1 or 2 years, they maybe decide to buy a new car or a second car. And this is also a trend in Munich overall, that people get more and more cars, also per household. So evaluation period over 1.5 years. So from baseline to the second wave was also very short. So you have to take this into account.
Great, thank you. So we need more time and perspective to still to evaluate all of these magnificent results of these experiments. Thank you all in the panel. And my pleasure is to invite the next moderator on board. That is Elisabeth Nagel from City of Munich. The floor is yours.
So, hello everybody. Welcome to the third and last session today with the topic of wise and fair cities and communities. And my name is Elisabeth and I'm working for the City of Munich in Germany. And I was also involved with Stefan in the project of CIVITAS Eccentric. And today I'm very excited to hear about how fair and wise cities or communities are characterized. Is it just about the accessibility or also about the participation with the residents? I'm very interested in this. And I think we will hear some interesting and new methods how different cities were achieving this. And I'm now looking forward to hear 3 different presentations from Ruse, Bulgaria, from Funchal and Rethymno, and last but not least also Trieste in Italy. And right now we will start with Lucia from Ruse, and I think the stage is yours now, and I'm very excited to hear about your measure. Go ahead, Lucia, enjoy.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm really very happy to communicate with all of you. I will shortly present the main activities related to awareness rising and implementing the innovative mobility measures in Ruse. Next, please. So Ruse, I put this slide especially for showing to you where is Ruse on the map to the east, close to Constanța, and the Danube, the biggest Danube city in Bulgaria, the 5th biggest city in the country, and our Danube capital. Next. You can see here the main data about Ruse. I will not read because I know that we don't have enough time. Next, please. This is our living lab. The living lab is a peripheral area, as it was requested in Eccentric. We have chosen the relatively new neighborhood named Druzhba, Friendship, with traditional condominium like similar neighborhood built during the socialist era from Vladivostok to Berlin, as you know, and with hard problems, very heavy problems with mobility, with access to the city centers, access to the attractions and shopping centers, and also very big problem with parkings. Next. Very quickly, I will go through the measures. The first measure was park and ride system in the peripheral district. Very small demonstration park and ride we have established. Next. We also built safe pedestrian crosswalks, only several in this neighborhood, but it will be replicated all over the city in the frames of their sum. Next. For the first time in Ruse, safe sidewalks with cycling facilities, very nice, very much used, especially in the pandemic environment. They are also limited, several kilometers, but they will be extended in the frames of the sum of Ruse. Next. And this is the biggest task and perhaps one of the most important, analysis of the public transport demand and reorganization of public transport lines in Druzhba. It was made having in mind that new transport vehicle will be purchased, e-buses and new trolleybuses for Ruse, and they will move on the innovated network together with new cycling paths that will make such kind of integrated pedestrian and multimodal network of Ruse transport. Next. The good night line. It was also an experimental night line running in Ruse. Very interesting, very successful, very new for Bulgaria for the second time. The first was Sofia. The second city was Ruse with a good night line. Next. And this measure that was assigned to the partner of the municipality of Ruse, our club Sustainable Development of Civil Society, dealing with information, training and awareness raising. I should tell you that we made a lot of efforts for promoting not only the eccentric measures, but as a whole, the sustainable transport measures and the sustainable mobility. All these issues were absolutely new, not only for the large population, but also for the decision makers in Ruse. And I can tell you that we have a very large success in this achievement in this area. Next. First of all, I should tell you, share with you our approach. We decided to make a tailored events for different target groups. We targeted, of course, the local population of the target neighborhood Druzhba, but also we wanted to influence the decision makers. It means the municipal officers, but also some regional agencies, the regional administration of Ruse, all those who take decisions and from whom depends the introduction of the new measures at larger scale. We also targeted youth, especially the students, the university, not only in Ruse but in the other cities. We have a very successful cooperation with universities, different associations of businesses, of elderly people, of disabled people, children in the schools. So we had a very large scope of measures. Pleased to show several pictures about these measures. Next slides. This is the training of the transport professionals in the Ruse municipality, the first one for introducing the project. Next. This is the training and the information raising awareness events in the neighborhood of Druzhba. Next. The roundtable discussions with the NGOs in Ruse. There is a boosting of environmental and cycling NGOs, very popular. We discussed with them the measures, the training in schools with the small children from 1st to 4th classes. Next. The Russian Technical University, we made several communication with them. This is the first training of the professors and the doctoral students in the university. The training in the club of disabled people in Russia. Each big city has such kind of clubs. We organized 3 big conferences in Russia, in Sofia, in the Ministry of Transport and Communication with the participation of the minister. And
Lucia,
yes,
I would like to ask you to come to an end soon.
Yes, that's why I want to show faster the pictures. Here is the Minister of the Transport that is benedicting our project. This is the 3rd national conference in the Varna University. So as a whole, we have very good results achieved, very high percentage of awareness rising, of approval of the measures. And what is the most important, after the COVID pandemic, we didn't stop to inform people and to maintain the high interest of the project. We performed several roundtables with the new municipal staff, with the new regional administration, with the new students in the university invited by the rector of the University of Russia, and with several other universities in Sofia and in Gabrovo. We disseminated a lot of materials. We printed a lot of supplementary materials because they were requested, like study books. What was important in the training and awareness rising, I would like to share with our colleagues, it's that every time we presented the information in a different way, adapted to the concrete target group. Of course, we provided a lot of attractive materials as designed for eccentric. They are very attractive indeed. Different small presents, small souvenirs. And during the COVID, we also set up a virtual classroom and disseminated information and training via this virtual classroom, which is very much appreciated in our project. Of course, every time we tried to make the events very attractive, to provide very good catering, it's not to be subestimated, and to open a large discussion, to leave the floor of the participants in such a way people felt engaged, and they are really very much engaged in the decision makers. The new mayor of Russia said that they established under our proposal already a common platform for discussing with the local population all decisions concerning the implementation of the eccentric measures in the whole city of Russia, not only in the target region, Druzhba, but they are already spread step by step at the whole city of Russia. What you see here is the last discussion in the university with the students and the university staff. Next.
Okay, I think we will have to finish
with
now.
the decision makers. Yes. See already with the masks, people are with the masks hidden. The new students again. Here are the new mayors, the virtual classroom set up and functioning. And of course, all this was accompanied with different urban measures like enlarging the green areas, promoting the walking and cycling, a little bit outside of the typical eccentric measures, but complementing the measures and let's say strengthening the effect of the implemented eccentric measures. So for this moment, I can say that we are on the right track.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lucia. I think we will directly continue with the next presentation and with the next presentators from Madeira and Greece. And I welcome Claudia and Maria afterwards as well. And thank you, Lucia. And Claudia, Maria, it's your turn now. Thank you. I'm excited to hear about your projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. So I will present some measures which the main purpose was to study mobility and promote mobility through the young generations in schools. Please, next slide. So we create or developed 6 mobility studies in 6 pilot schools. We made a characterization of mobility patterns. We evaluate the quality of public space and bus stops in the surrounding areas of the school. We evaluate the public transport services in what respect the adequacy of the service to the needs. And of course, we identify needs and problems, and we guide, or we wrote some recommendations to the stakeholders to improve mobility in what concerns sustainability and safe. As results, we have 6 mobility studies for these schools, and these were delivered to schools, to municipality, and to public transport operator. Next, please. We also develop a mobile application, which we call the Pick Up and Ride. This application aims to solve a problem that is well identified at the peak hours of the schools, in the entrance and in the end of the classes. Parents go with their own cars to pick up their children, and it makes a lot of congestions, which compromise, of course, the safety of the surrounding areas. And what we intend with this application was to facilitate, to make it easier and organize the time of the pickup the children. So the application notified the school and notified the students that their parents are arriving to the zone, and they get ready or to be picked up. And this is the essential idea. This application is developed in Portuguese and in English, so it can be adapted to other places than Madeira, and is in the beta phase, which means is in a testing phase in a real context. This was a project that was is now delayed because of COVID pandemics. Next, please. We also one of our purpose was to aware these students about the importance of sustainable mobility. So we, during this 4 years period, we gave lectures. We get outside with children to observe and evaluate the public space to build a critical mind about the public space. And we organize participative actions, putting young students discussing the problem, identifying the problems and discussing the problems, and discussing their ideas to solve the problems with stakeholders. We put them together at the same room, and it was very interesting. They welcomed very much with enthusiasm these sessions, and I should say that it was a very nice success. Next, please. About the promotion of public transport services, there were several campaigns addressed to elementary schools and the university here in Funchal and in Madeira in general. And there was a big initiative carried out by the government about the reduction of the price of the public transport which make public transport more affordable to the families. And for instance, it's free for children under 12 years old, and it has a very attractive price for young students under 23. This leads to an increase of new students in public transports of about 48%, which is a very good figure. I think it's my time. I passed my presentation to Maria. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. For us in Rethymno, building capacity of the younger generation was one of the key drivers to motivate behavioral change. School communities were set as a priority audience to become ambassadors of a targeted campaign, aiming to enhance road safety and to encourage the use of more eco-friendly commuting modes. To achieve our goals, we designed a 3-year holistic action plan, which was co-created with all involved stakeholders. The working group was coordinated by our team in the Renewable and Sustainable Energy Systems Lab of the Technical University of Crete, with the valuable contribution of the municipality of Rethymno. The measure has been already replicated by 3 follower cities awarded by CIVITAS Destinations Replication Funding. Next slide, please. The campaign included targeted experiential road safety activities, interactive workshops for schools, teachers and parents, behavioral change games, thematic events, schools networking, inspiring training and informational material, and many more. It was embraced by the whole school community, students, parents and teachers, and the local community also. Very soon, we achieved to involve more than 4,500 students and their families in more than 35 primary and secondary education schools, which are about the 80% of total schools in Rethymno. Also, more than 40,000 citizens were reached. Next, please. The stakeholders' active engagement was the most important key success factor. The campaign followed a co-creation approach and was built following a series of consultation meetings, on-site collaboration with school directors and teachers, sharing of expertise, lessons learned from previous similar activities, and incorporating the different views and competencies of each group. Next, please. 2 user-friendly apps were developed by the Technical University of Crete to be used as behavioral change tools. The Green Your Ride app in 2 versions, one for children and one for adults, which compares the environmental impact and cost of different transportation modes, aiming to promote the benefits of walking, cycling, public transport, and shared vehicles. The user may calculate the indicative carbon dioxide emission of his daily routes to and from school or work, and learns the environmental and financial benefits of a more eco-friendly way to commute. Next, please. And also the Green Your Drive app, which promotes the change of driving behavior towards eco-driving. The user may test its knowledge of the eco-driving principles through a tailored quiz to find out his ecological footprint as a driver and to learn the golden rules for safe, ecological and economical driving. Both apps are developed in Greek and English language to involve also our visitors and foreigner citizens. And the user results are collected within an internal database for further exploitation and analysis. And the last one, please. Complementary to the schools campaign, the municipality studied quick, low-cost interventions and supporting signage around schools to increase safe walking and biking towards schools and around the city. New infrastructure and services to improve accessibility were made available in Rethymno, countdown timers at traffic lights, ramps for accessibility to the beach, the sea track systems, which are automated rail chair for disabled people to enter the sea, a sea guidance system for people with vision impairments, vessel facilities, changing rooms, and appropriate corridors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. That was a fast and quick presentation, but thank you very much for that one. And last but not least, I would ask Trieste, Italy to join me and to talk about cruise tourism, which is maybe right now a difficult topic in times of COVID. But yeah, Fabio, I am interested in your presentation and how your project went. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and good afternoon, everyone. Just introducing myself. My name is Fabio Armanna, and I'm a freelance civil engineer. Basically in charge of following the sound development in Trieste and some related measures. So today I'm giving you just a brief overview of the policies about cruise passengers mobility. Next, please. So in Trieste, we are lucky since cruise passengers can get off and in just a few meters can arrive in the heart of the city because of the shape of the city. By the way, there are several touristic attractions located all around the metropolitan area that should require sustainable mobility choice in order to avoid crowd of touristic passengers in some particular points of the city. Next, please. Thanks. We developed a sustainable touristic information system, which has been made through a synergy among three main measures. The first one is the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan, which is almost approved, which provide directions and goals to achieve in terms of choosing sustainable mobility modes, also for citizens and also for tourists. The second one is the bike sharing system, which was born just last February, and despite all the lockdowns and the pandemic, is growing very fast, and we get now thousands of subscriptions, and is getting better and better. And the third one is the new mobility platform with a couple of apps associated that is an help to visit for tourists to visit Trieste in a sustainable way. Next, please. So this is a first example of an intermodal node designed by the SAMP, just in the point where cruisers get off the boat. And the idea is that they can find the intermodal information just there, just off the boat, before starting by journeying to the touristic attractions through the city. Next. This is a screenshot of the Infomobility platform, which is almost ready as well. And this is accessible both by web and by application. And the user can navigate and find all information about bike lanes, bike sharing stations, pedestrian areas, and public transport information to go through the city in a sustainable way. Next, please. And for the bike sharing system, this is an excerpt from the bike sharing network. I just highlight the two brand new stations just built in the heart of the old port area, which is a brand new area which is now in development, urban development, and this is an area close to the city center, but not so close. So it is a good idea to weigh and a good way to visit it by bike. And we have also a new bike mobility plan, which is almost ready together with the SAMP. Next. So to sum up, we designed an integrated system to help cruisers to move through the city. This is basically composed by an infomobility section, a knowledge, and some touristic information. Next. All touristic itineraries are summed up in an application called the Trieste Metro. And there are 7 main itineraries in the city. Cruise passengers can go through them both by web and by a physical book, which is the idea is that the book can be distributed to passengers just off of the boat. Next. Together with the Trieste Metro Guide, we developed also a mobility guide that should pair the touristic information with the specific mobility information. And we have the cruise passengers as main target, but not only. So the idea is that both citizens and tourists can achieve all the itineraries in a sustainable way. And this is also both digital and physical distributed. Next. And to conclude, all the touristic information system and all the ways to get sustainable mobility choices will be integrated in an app called an app for cruise passengers, where they can find almost every information to visit Trieste and the surrounding areas, all in sustainable ways, just to avoid the use of private car or private mode of transport, and help them in looking for more sustainable ways of visit the metropolitan area. Next one is the last one, and thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Fabio. And this is also the time I want to ask all the other participants or our project evaluation managers and the other measure leaders to join me for the discussion for the last one. And we have still a lot of attendees to listen to our discussion following now. And first of all, I just wanted to ask, because all of these 3 projects or even 4 projects are due to rising awareness to different target groups, and awareness is somehow difficult to measure. So how did you measure this awareness effects, and how is the long-term effect of awareness rising? Maybe we can start with Claudia and Maria and continue to the other measure leaders as well. Maybe what is your impression about this?
Okay, that is the worst question you could do to me. Of course, it's so difficult that I don't know exactly the answer, maybe the answer that you would like to hear. But maybe the best way to evaluate the awareness level is in the results, the impact of in the fields. In this case, for instance, in schools, it should be in the sharing of the split of the modes that are used to do the travels between home and schools. That is our indicator. Of course, we would like to increase public transport use in some schools, or the walk modes. But of course, more than awareness, you need conditions. And sometimes the problem is not to be aware, but the conditions and the perception. In this case, the case that I'm here talking about in schools, the perception of their parents about safety when they send children to school. So if you are a parent and you don't feel that your children is safe when it goes to school by walking, of course you can be sensitive to the environmental issues, but you don't care. Of course, you will try to choose the more safe mode to send your children to school. So it's a very difficult aspect. But there is another thing that it's not used to be aware, and sorry, and I lose some of my thoughts. But what I meant is you need to create conditions to ask people to change the modes, and we need to of course to work at the awareness level, but also at the offering level, from services, from public services to, for instance, the conditions that people have to walk between the bus stop and the front door of the school, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Does the other agree with that one? Maria, you wanted to say something?
Yes, because I agree with Claudia. It's actually not only awareness and to measure this awareness, it's about to have capacity building towards behavioral changing, and to have interactivity with the target groups and learn by doing. Actually, the best way to measure our impact is by seeing it up in actual, by seeing it on the streets. We're already measuring this difference, this behavioral change on the streets, because we can detect less speed in the city center. We have here in Rethymno, at least, we are seeing the vehicle stops on the pedestrian side. We are seeing more bicyclists. And of course, we need to combine it with technical interventions. Yes, this is true, but we first have to build the capacity and have have the sustainable mobility aspect, the sustainable mobility transportation modes as a part of our daily transportation behavior. And maybe another way to see our impact in Rethymno, at least, was the interest for application from other cities for this measure, for the behavioral change in schools. And after those awareness and informational events for schools and for general public, we have also distributed questionnaires in general public that we can collect and gather their opinions and their perspective for the.
So based on having these contacts and this interactive approach, it is necessary to make cooperations with other people, or to go and have contact with the residents, with the children. In our case, we are working with project time. So after the project, some measures are done. How do you try to continue your efforts to still improve the measures, or still continue your efforts? Maybe also Lucia in Ruse, you had a lot of cooperations and a lot of meetings with different target groups. Do you continue those meetings, or what is your approach in this term?
Yes, we are continuing now, as I told already, virtually. We are communicating permanently, and after the end of the project, we shall continue with the Ruse new municipal team by signing an agreement of cooperation between our team, our organization, and Ruse. We shall assist them in some measures implementation. Perhaps if there is the possibility to participate in another project. Also, I suggested to establish the same agreement also with the Ruse Technical University. As I told already, they have a very strong transport chair and very good potential for project implementation. And as a whole, I am satisfied with the awareness rising in Ruse, having in mind that in the beginning of this programming period, 2014-2020, nobody knew in Ruse what does it mean mobility. After two big projects, the project is BOOMF with partners from Trieste, lead partners from Trieste. The second was Eccentric, of course, the most powerful project. Everybody in Ruse already know about the mobility, and what is very interesting, people are manifesting interest. They are sending messages to the mayor. They are asking when you shall implement this measure or another measure in our neighborhood. Ruse is not a small city, so it takes time to plan and to implement new pedestrian and cycling infrastructure all over the city. But people are interested, and they are asking about this. They are helpful. Moreover, they are observing the implementation. When somewhere something is in the stage of construction, they go by their local named citizen committees, and they are observing how the municipality is constructing the new pedestrian zone or the new cycling area. If they are not satisfied, they are complaining. So it's a little bit too much disturbed to the mayor and the transport director, the director of the transport department. But it means, it shows that people are engaged, people are interested. And also I'm very satisfied that young people are very interested. In the schools, we started with another project named Traffic Snake Game in the Russian schools. It was very well developed. After that, we continue with eccentric. Still, the pictures and the snake from the previous project were in school, so children were informed about the sustainable mobility. It was really very exciting to work with young people from the young generation. We are implementing actually a cycling project with Ruse, funded by Interreg, so the cooperation is continuing.
If I may, Elizabeth, I just want to raise the importance of not mixing the people's response with the actual effectiveness of the information channels. It is very relevant to track how or communication efforts are reaching the right people, because something we observe with these mobility management measures or very fine-tuned initiatives is that communication is as important as the measure itself. And if the communication is not being effective, then we are wasting a lot of money into something that is not going to achieve the expected results. So it is important to track both the response, but also the effectiveness of the information channels.
For this, I would like to have just two last questions, maybe answered very quickly and short. What is, in your opinion, the best method to communicate or have this communication strategy with the end users? Maybe just one or two words as an answer. Maybe Fabio, you can start, but first of all, I wanted to ask Maria, because of the Rhythm app, where you can find the app. Maybe you can tell us afterwards just where we can find it. And Fabio, it's your turn about the communication strategy. What's the best method in your opinion?
Well, actually, for the experience in Trieste, I think that the best method we adopted was actually to integrate different information on different platforms, essentially, because people from abroad and cruisers, for instance, in this case, can achieve information and get fast information in the best way as possible. So I think that developing an application with some specific contents about touristic information in this case, but in general, I think, in my opinion, is the best way to get improved information about sustainable mobility. So.
All right. So Maria, the last word is on you. Please, can maybe you just tell us about where we find your app, and then I would like to wrap up.
Both apps are developed as behavioral change tools, and we are using them in awareness and behavioral change events in Rethymno. At the moment, we keep their dissemination locally to extract some statistical info for the measures, for our measures. Later will be widely available, but at this moment, someone can find them in the virtual workshop event that we developed during European Mobility Week of 2020. And you can find it in the CIVITAS Destinations official Facebook website. It's already posted. It's at the moment it's only in Greek language. Within the in the event in our site, in our website. But later, after we will finally analyze our evaluation, will be widely available for everyone.
All right, I think we have everyone the opportunity to go in contact with bilateral with all of you after the conference. And thank you for participating, Halva. I think for you it's to continue.
Thank you. I would just like to maybe wrap up on what we have heard today. It doesn't come as a surprise that we need more public transport, that we need more active mobility, more mobility options. But what we have here today is that the combinations and the strategy for the implementation are the critical part. And I will just summarize in a few words what we heard today, and is that the combination or a great public transport, a good integrated public transport in combination with walking and cycling measures should be at the center of any strategy. And if we step up the game and if we have many mobility options, then we have to facilitate this for the user via mobility as a service or something along those lines. In any case, aiming for the mass market is if we want to unlock the sustainability capabilities of this approach. And then for solutions with particular mobility needs or that we want to target very finely, we need to make the extra effort and communicate with them efficiently to make sure that everyone has a solution beyond the private vehicle. And if we finally need any other vehicle on the street, we should make it electric to make sure that the negative sides of mobility and transport are minimized as much as possible. I will just close with a few remarks on maybe something that I heard here and there that is important. Maybe communication. It's a very important element, and we should not spare any efforts and resources into make sure that we get the voice out and we reach the right people. Don't try to tame congestion. It's just part of doing business in cities. We can choose what kind of congestion we want, but a strategic management of it is very important. And don't forget that even if we are successful with our measures, this can always come back to us by different means, by changing public opinion, by changing political positions. So this is a constant fight that we as planners and people interested in making mobility in our cities work better have to keep doing. And just a quite unfair question to the city of Munich on car ownership. We didn't observe any or almost no car reduction, but we observed though a reduction on car dependency in Munich. And what I have to say is that if many things come on track, some people will get rid of their cars. That's what we can expect. Nothing more. I think that will be it from my side. I want to thank a big shout out to the moderators for helping us to keep up the time and for facilitating the discussion. It's very difficult to get 4 years of work from 175 or more measures and hundreds, probably close to thousands people involved to the role. I hope it was more or less clear for everyone. If you want to have more information on what we have been doing and what are the results of our projects, please go to the website that is up there, or just look for CIVITAS EU and you will see it on the front page. Just navigate and you will find additional materials. You will find a ton of videos on what the measures are about, the final results, a lot of reference and useful things for replicate these measures in your own cities. And you please stay tuned. Coming up in 1 week exactly, same time, say time frame, we will be talking again about this living labs, but from a different perspective, this time on scaling and exporting these successful solutions all across Europe. And with this, I just want to close the session. And I just want to thank the panelists, the evaluation managers, and the moderators for helping us to spread the word. Thank you very much to the dissemination managers that that are organizing this event, and of course the local evaluation managers, which are not here today but produce most of the information that we are trying to communicate to the audience. Also, thank you very much to the audience for being with us. for the questions, and I hope this was of some information, and we hope to see you next Tuesday. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye.